Ladies and gentlemen,
the most transformative sport event on earth is about to begin.
Those who are in the stadium are on their feet.
it's just a long, niggly climb.
Because it is desperation now. And there it is.
Gold! What a result! Another remarkable athlete about to write another chapter in Paralympic history.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Keep the Flame Alive, the podcast for fans of the Olympics and Paralympics. If you love the games, we are the show for you. Each week we share stories from athletes and people behind the scenes to help you have more fun watching the games. I am your host, Jill Jarris, joined as always by my lovely co-host, Allison Brown. Allison, hello, how are you?
Not as good as you. You had some fun this weekend.
I did have some fun this weekend. I think I have very red cheeks to show for it. I went on a little test event to the Katie Moon Pole Vault Classic, which we will talk about later on in TKFLASTAN. But oh my gosh, it was more than I could have imagined. I will say that. So we will talk about that later in the show.
So you've learned sunblock and a hat.
I've got to figure out the hat situation because I do not like wearing hats. My head gets very hot very quickly. So I might have to figure out some sort of visor situation and see if that works, which I don't love the idea of. But I did get some heat training. That's good. That was very good. That's essential. It's gonna be a rough games if it gets really hot. I will tell you that. It might be a rotation of indoor outdoor.
I was just going to say you need the outdoor indoor planning for the hottest part of the day. Oh geez, I think this is a good time to see some indoor volleyball.
So we will get to the Katie Moon Pole Vault Classic results in a little bit, but first we are talking para swimming today. This is it was really exciting. I did not expect to get time with these women. First, we're talking with Jessica Long. Jessica first competed at the Paralympics in 2004 at only 12 years old. Since then, she has won 29 Paralympic medals, including 16 gold. She competes in the S8, SB7, and SM8 classes, which is an amputee class. And Jessica has become one of the most recognizable faces of the U.S. Paralympic team, including appearing in a popular Toyota ad from Tokyo 2020. Take a listen. When you start, if somebody has two full legs, they get the flexibility in their ankles. Where do you get your start power from?
Well, we're all in different classifications.
Yeah.
So they all go through like a very rigorous process.
Right, but this is your classification with a hodgepodge.
Yeah, well, I like to say it's not how you start, but it's how you finish a race. But yeah, I mean, it's all different, and I mean, I would still say the classification process is not wonderful yet. But I also know that like if I start slow, I have a chance to catch up because at some point I feel like their impairment might come into play, right? Like
and you're jacked up top.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I think that's one of the most confusing parts of Paralympics is just like how do you understand the classification system, especially right now with it being kind of flawed. So I mean, I think it's still I know a lot of us Paralympic athletes aren't 100% satisfied, and we want to make it the best equal playing field for all.
Does having more competitors help make the classification better?
Yeah, it really does. Yeah. I mean, I think the more that you have in your class, you can kind of start, I mean, since I've been in it for so long, I can kind of look at someone and be like, oh yeah, I know what class you're in, based off of like amputation. I think the hardest thing is amputation versus like neuro. Mm-hmm. That's even hard for me to understand just because I'm very cut and dry. All the amputees are cut and dry. But neurological is really hard because even on their worst day, like my legs don't change day to day.
Right.
And they have different, every day is different. So I think we still need to figure that out in the Paralympics.
How has it changed for you and for the movement in general? You've been doing this a few years.
Yeah.
I know. I feel someone the other day was like, what's your age? I was like 32.
Okay, you're way younger than us, so you just come sit here and you'll feel young.
I'm a leap year baby, so I just turned 8 years old. I know.
Perfect.
But it's changed a lot. Like it's amazing how much it's changed, right? From the time that I was 12 years old at my first games to now going into my 6 games. the fact that we're here at the 100 Days Out or the Media Summit, and there's the same Paralympic athletes that there are Olympic athletes. And there was a time, I think in 2008, when I did one of the media summits, and people didn't even want to talk to me. And I was like, I have 3 gold medals. Like, I am an elite athlete. So the fact that you're seeing so much, just even up on the posters and the Paralympics and the Olympics, or the fact that it's, the name is changing, it has changed so much, and I think there's such a level of respect. I would say one thing, though, is we need to stop calling Paralympic athletes Olympic athletes. I still think that needs to be respected. And, there was a time that I never corrected people when I was really little, because I was almost embarrassed to be a Paralympic athlete, right? There was a time when people would be like, oh my gosh, you're an Olympic athlete. And I'd be like, oh, like, I'm a Paralympic athlete. And you could see the difference, right? They would just be like, oh, like, that's really sweet of you. Good for you. And I think for me, I took that and I decided to train with the greatest Olympian of all time, Michael Phelps, right? I'm from Baltimore. And I just realized I never have to question if I'm just as good as Olympic athletes, because I trained with 16 of them for years. But I'm really, really excited to see the movement continue to grow, and that, the word para is parallel to the Olympic Games, right? It's not Paralympics. It literally is alongside the Olympics. And I just want to continue to get that message out to everyone, that we are the same thing, Team USA.
And you have that fabulous Toyota commercial.
I know, the Super Bowl. I think that was pretty cool. I want to be like, how many Olympians have Super Bowl commercials?
And really good ones, too.
I know, yes.
Yeah.
I think it won some awards. But we filmed that in South Africa, and my husband and I, we ended up having our honeymoon after we filmed that. But it's amazing to me how many people truly saw that, and being stopped in the airport, or just traveling, or speeches, just how impactful that's been for women or people with disabilities, or being an athlete, or just in the Paralympic space, right? They gave me an entire minute for a Super Bowl commercial, which is pretty unheard of, and I never even thought they would use it for that, right? It wasn't supposed to be used for the Super Bowl. It was supposed to be used for the Start Your Impossible campaigns. And the year before, they actually told me, they're like, we were 4 days short of submitting it in 2020, and I just remember being like, please don't tell me that. And then the next year they chose it, so it really came full circle.
Excellent.
Thank you so much.
I love talking, so it's hard for me to.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Now we're talking with McKenzie Coan. McKenzie is a 3-time Paralympian, winning 4 gold and 2 silvers. She has won 16 World Championship medals and holds the Paralympic record for the 50-meter freestyle. She competes in the S7, SB8, and SM7 classes. That's short of stature?
Yes.
Okay, those are short of stature classes. Take a listen. So this is not your first rodeo on media summits. How are they each different, except for let's take out the Tokyo one, because that was just weird.
Yeah.
We were there and it was very weird.
It's funny. I feel like each media summit is different because I'm a different person going into it as well. And this will be my 4th games in Paris, which is crazy to say out loud. So I've had a lot more life experience. I've had a lot more Team USA experience throughout the years. And with each games, I think I have a different goal going into it. And this one, I just can't put it into words. I can't believe I'm still here going into my 4th. It's such a privilege and an honor, and I feel like I'm just kind of soaking this in that much more and talking about my excitement for the games, because this is number 4.
How is it being a more senior member of the team? I don't want to say old.
I like that. That was a great, yeah.
But I mean, like,
a veteran.
You know what it. You
yeah.
also
Yeah.
know these different stages, so you know what it's like to be the first timer.
Exactly.
And now, swimming is really big, and the Paralympics have come so far.
Absolutely.
And hopefully this will be just like London.
Yes,
Isn't that crazy?
yes.
Oh my gosh. But like, really, how do you mentor other people on the team, or what are they looking for to you?
Yes, it's funny. I was telling someone this the other day. I was 16 when I went to my first games in London, and we were on a trip a couple months ago. We were in Chile. We were at the Pan American Games, and we had a 13-year-old there, a couple 16-year-olds, and I looked around and I go, oh my goodness, to think being that young and being at something like this. Then it hit me, I was in their same position one time. So on that trip, I started to think about all the things that I wish I would have known back then. And for me, I definitely have days where I feel old around them, but I see it as a really great responsibility and opportunity to share what I so wish I would have known, or what someone would have told me going into it. So I just try to spread as much wisdom as I possibly can, and try to make their journey just a little bit easier, a little bit better where I can.
What kind of things would those be?
Yeah, so I will never forget in London putting on my racing suit to go out there for my first Paralympic race. And no one really, they touched on it in team meetings, like what that would feel like going out there. I remember I was in the locker room and I burst into tears and I go, I need my mom. Like, I want my mom. And so now I tell them, when we get there, go out to the pool and take a moment for yourself and realize that this is happening. Don't let it hit you 5 minutes before you go to the call room while putting your suit on. Let it kind of, the energy flow through you first. And then, team things, what to pack, what to bring. Part of my routine is so like having everything that I need to compete, and being sure of that puts me in a really good space mentally. So I always tell them, no matter what you need to bring, no matter if you have superstitions, if you have this or that, you need to be comfortable going out there as yourself and not letting anybody else dictate that. So just having the confidence to be you and to do what you need to do to perform.
What are you hoping for these games? Because it was like London was such an amazing Paralympics.
Oh, yeah.
Rio, tougher, but they came around. Tokyo, weird, unfortunately, but there was so much hope that you turn back the corner and COVID, thanks.
Right.
But now, especially with England so close to Paris, what are you hoping that this Games achieves for the movement?
Yeah, I think there's a humongous opportunity. It's so exciting for us here because not only are we going into Paris this year with a huge opportunity to go out there and highlight Paralympian stories and everything, we also have a Games coming up in 2028. So it's kind of like, okay, how do we get all this momentum going in a really good place for Paris? And how do we build off of that after? I look at the movement, I think back to 2012, how much has changed, but also being in London and seeing how they kind of went about showcasing their Paralympians. I saw Paralympians on billboards going to the village. And, you're starting to see that here in the U.S., but we need to amplify it right now. Put people out there, get that exposure piece rolling, and let's build off of this into L.A. So I feel like this here in Paris is a really great starting point, and we've got to keep it going. We need to amplify it by times like 1,000. That's what I think.
How is it then? Because part of it is work on the media, work with USOPC, but part of it is athletes making time in their schedule to do that work as well. And that's hard, especially Paralympians. You got to balance a job or school and your training, and then do extra stuff, especially if it's not comfortable for you.
Absolutely. I've always said this, and it's not anything against my Olympic counterparts. They have a lot going on as well, but I've always felt as a Paralympian, I have just a little bit more responsibility on me to go out there and be a big part of changing the movement and growing the movement. And that's a responsibility I've taken on since 2012. Anytime somebody comes up to me, I could be at an airport about to miss my flight. If someone comes up to me and goes, I saw the Team USA tags on your bag, and they say, you're in a wheelchair, like, what does that mean? Like, what do you do? I will take time to stand there and tell them all about the Paralympic movement. I will take the time to tell them all about the things I have been through, yet I am here going out and competing for my country, and you should watch the Paralympics because of that. So I've always felt a really big responsibility there. I think every Paralympian probably feels that, but a lot of that does at times come on us to go out there and essentially be educators to society and the public.
Wait, I know you're going to say. What is your response to people who think the Paralympics is a Special Olympics?
Yes, so, the Special Olympics is really great. It's tremendous, but what we do is very, very different. We are the same elite level competitors as our Olympic counterparts. We just so happen to have physical differences. And that's the exact same way I would present it to someone on the street. It does not, I will never be a person that is going to bark at someone for coming up and asking, because this is an opportunity for me to, tell them that's great, but that is not what I do, and present it in that way. Because I also think I have known people at times who get very upset sometimes if someone comes up and does not understand what we do. And to me, that's just not the best teaching tool. You can get frustrated and everything else, but at the end of the day, you need to educate them, because that could have an impact. They could go tell their friends and family, hey, I just had a great experience meeting a Paralympian, and I'm going to go watch the next Paralympic Games. Like, that's a huge opportunity.
Who else at the Paralympics are you excited about getting a chance to go see?
Oh my goodness. So swimming is one of those sports that we go all 10 days of the games. So it's so hard to find time. I've never seen another Paralympic sport played in person. But personally, when I go back to the village and if I'm in a team room, refueling or whatever, wheelchair basketball is like my all-time favorite, and I feel like I fangirl over the wheelchair basketball players, but I love it so much. I have fragile bones, so I got recruited to do wheelchair basketball at a swim meet one time, and then I went and gave my mom the business card, and she's like, I don't think we're gonna try that. So I'm living vicariously through them, basically.
So wheelchair rugby is not on your agenda.
No, I told Chuck, I was like, Chuck, I probably won't be out there with you anytime soon, Chuck.
Who's my favorite?
I know, Chuck is like the best person ever. His social media gives me life too. He is the funniest person ever.
Well, thank you so much.
Awesome.
It was great
Thank
to
you.
have you.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
Are you handler or?
Thank you so much, McKenzie. And finally, we're talking with Olivia Chambers. Olivia is a Paralympic hopeful trying for her first Paralympics at her first national championships. She broke a 10-year-old American record in the 400-meter IM S13 class. That is a visually impaired class. And at last year's World Championships, she collected 2 silver and 4 bronze medals. Take a listen to our interview with Olivia. Okay, Olivia, we have been trying frantically to figure out if your classification does the tapping on the head when you're getting ready to hit the wall or no.
You can if you choose so, but you don't have to, so most people don't.
Okay, so you are not tapped.
I am not tapped.
Are you using blackout goggles?
No, that's only S11, which is the lowest visual class.
Okay. So given that you are not getting tapped, how are you planning that flip? How are you knowing where you are in the water?
Yeah, it takes a lot of practice, but one of the things that helps me the most is counting my strokes. So I know when I get to a certain stroke count, I must be at least near the wall, and so that helps me know when to flip.
As you get faster, how does that stroke count? Do you just have to build in the practice time?
Yeah, it does change, and it varies from race to race and where I'm at in the race, but I think it comes with a lot of practice, and your stroke count, I feel like, changes over time. It's not necessarily one race to the next. It's going to be very different, and it's something that I work on a lot just because it's so important for me to get that stroke count right.
Freestyle and IM, yes?
Yes.
Are you wanting to include everything?
Yeah, I mean, right now at trials, I'm swimming everything that's in the S13 class, and then at games, I think I'll try to do as much as I can.
Okay, now I know a lot of medley swimmers love medley. What are you one of those?
Yeah, I do love it. It's
okay,
fun.
What about it makes it better?
It's a mix of everything. It's all the strokes you've got into one race, and so it's really exciting because you can have someone who's incredible at fly absolutely be terrible at breaststroke, and so the leader can change throughout the entire race, and whoever starts it might not be who finishes first in the end, which I mean is true for every race, but especially so in that one because it changes so often, and it's I feel like one of the most interesting ones to watch too, because you get to see a little piece of everything.
So in your IM, how do you rate the strokes in order of your strengths, like best strength?
Oh yeah, that honestly differs from year to year. I've switched up the strokes a lot. I'm mainly a distance freestyler, but right now I feel like I'm really leaning into breaststroke, but I train all of the strokes. But who knows? Maybe in 6 months from now, I'm really having a nice fly. It changes for me quite a bit.
Given the loss of vision was not from birth, did you find the difficulty with balance adjustments?
Yeah, with my vision loss, I have pretty much no depth perception, so just honestly navigating and knowing where I'm at is really difficult, but I think over time and learning and just continuing to do what I love, I was able to figure it all out.
Do you ever lose your place in the pool?
Not too bad, no. When I have to switch from, like, say, long course meters to short course yards, every now and then I get a little confused, but most of the time I'm fully aware of where I'm at.
You're swimming at college now. How has that changed how you're training, how you're prepping going into Paris?
Yeah, I wouldn't say so. Lucky enough, the college season and big para meets are at different times of the year. So from about like October to February, I'm, in the college season focusing on that. But luckily, it's all swimming, and I'm still swimming, still training. So it's not like I'm hurting myself in any way for the summer when trials comes around or games comes around. And I would just say it's more of just making sure I'm in a competitive state for longer time of the year, and it might mean taking less breaks than, say, my college teammates or even my para teammates, or just having a different schedule as everyone else around.
What does competitive state mean to you?
Just staying in training throughout, so just staying in my best physical shape to go as fast as I possibly can.
What throws you off during a race? Or does anything throw you off?
Well, I try not to let anything throw me off. I would say with being a visually impaired athlete, luckily we have plenty of warm-up times, but every now and then you get to a pool where the lighting is just really weird. Maybe you brought tinted goggles and the lighting's super dark so you can barely see anything. Or, some pools, the flags are a weird color, you can't see them, or just really small, and so you have to adjust for that. And luckily, I can work those things out in warm-up, but every now and then, something like that can throw me off in a race.
What are you thinking about? Because I'm always curious, especially for the long races and the focus. What is going through your brain, and how do you push that out?
Yeah. A lot of the time, I'm just counting my strokes, but I'm also, finding a song that is to the beat of the pace I need to go, singing that, or just I like to cheer myself on in the race, keep going, try my hardest, or just think about random facts.
Do you ever lose count of the laps in 1500?
Is that a yes or a no, Mom?
I do not. I'm usually pretty on top of what lap I'm on. Every now and then I might lose a little track, especially that's more in practice is where I lose track, but usually in the race I can stay on top of the count.
What is success in Paris going to look like for you?
Honestly, just getting there. I think if I get there and I just really want to take it all in and not be too stressed about my races, and to just be grateful for the opportunity that I've been given to compete with the flag on my cap, and to really just have fun.
Do you wear one cap or two?
One.
How do you keep? Okay, I was an age group swimmer, and I could never keep my goggles on when I dive in. How do you keep your goggles on when you dive in?
Just keep them tight. They suction pretty nice.
Maybe you just had a fat head, Jill.
I probably did.
Or maybe they didn't suction to your face nicely. I don't know.
It was the 80s. Come on. All right. Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much, Olivia.
Really
and thank you, Mahi.
Thank you so much, Olivia. The U.S. Paralympic team trials will be in Minneapolis, Minnesota from June 27th through 29th. Everybody's on Instagram. We'll have links to those in the show notes. Jessica and Mackenzie also have websites. That's jessicalong.com and McKenzieCoan.com. It's less than 50 days to go.
It is less than 50 days to go. Are you panicking yet?
Yeah, there's a lot of panic going on.
So there might be some panicking as to what people are going to watch, what people are going to see, but we have you covered there. So the Keep the Flame Alive viewing guide, Olympics and Paralympics Summer 2024, is available as an ebook from both Amazon and Apple Books. And in there, you've got daily detailed schedules. We've got easy to use tables if you're looking for medal events, and info on all the sports that will be on the Olympic and Paralympic program. This is the coolest part to me. As we do updates and get those round robin and pool events, we're going to be updating the schedules, and those will automatically be sent to your device, whatever it is, for all the latest matchups. And you can find a link to purchase those in the show notes and through a graphic on our website, flamealivepod.com.
And if you get Kindle Unlimited, it is part of the Kindle Unlimited program, so you can borrow it early and often to see all those updates.
Oh mon Dieu.
The realization that we are with less than 50 days to go.
Oh mon Dieu. I'm not even, I could swear in French. I have been learning some French swear words, but I don't want us to get a not family friendly rating.
Oh, that's good. We are 50 days to go. The Olympic rings went onto the Eiffel Tower. Very exciting to see.
And that was no joke. Those things are huge.
They are huge. They weigh 30 tons. First off, they are made of recycled French steel, and they're 29 meters wide, 13 meters high. Each ring is 9 meters in diameter. So these are big rings. They are meant to be seen all over. They are on the south side of the structure, so you can see them from the Seine and between the first and second floors of the structure. They also contain 100,000 LED bulbs to be part of the nightly light show. So this is going to be pretty spectacular. They are supposed to stay there until the end of the Paralympics, which, I thought that maybe they get swapped out for the Agitos.
I don't know. Swapping those out would be a little rough.
Yeah, I guess it would take time to take those up and take those down, and you probably have to close the tower while you're doing it, and that's prime tourist time, so I'm guessing that's the reason why, but I'm kind of hoping that we get nice Agitos somewhere.
I mean, the tower's got 4 sides.
There you go.
Why aren't we putting them on the other side?
I don't know. Maybe
Mon
with
Dieu.
yeah. Well, maybe that'll come with like 75 or 50 days to go till the Paralympics. Don't know. New to the Athletes Village this year will be an area called the 365 Athlete 365 Mind Zone. This is going to be a mindfulness and relaxation area that is designed to help athletes with their mental health a little bit more. And it will have VR headsets for meditation. They'll have sleep pods there. They will have art activities. The whole area is going to have low lighting, so it will be very relaxing. There will be an alcohol-free bar in the village. So very different from Montreal 1976. That's of course the first thing I think of is like, oh, the disco, oh, the Esperanto lessons, oh, the cigarette ashtrays in every athlete's room. Is so different from 2024, where we have cardboard beds and, and sleep pods and alcohol-free bars.
But if you do remember from some earlier reports we did that the Olympic condoms are back.
Yes, that's very true.
So there is that.
That through line from 1988. Can you imagine? I mean, they are going to do some media tours of the Athletes Village, so I'm very hopeful that we will get to go on one of those. But can you imagine? I'm going to be the idiot going, where's the disco? Are they doing Esperanto lessons this year?
I want to go to the Olympic barber.
Oh, I know, and see what the hairstylist looks like.
No, I want to go. Like,
I
want them to cut maybe some Agitos into my hair. I mean, I want to get some Olympic hair going.
Anyway, the 365 Athlete 365 Mind Zone will also have guides to maintain good mental hygiene, i.e. avoiding screen time. And they're going to have a mental health helpline in 70 languages. Now, 90 countries are bringing along their own mental health welfare officers with their teams, which is a big deal for teams this time around. This is a new type of accreditation, apparently, that was implemented in 2022 after we all learned at Tokyo 2020 how important mental health was for athletes. We got some new members of the NBC Universal team, broadcast team, coverage team. Sesame Street Muppets are back.
Way more excited about this than Kelly Clarkson. I gotta be honest.
I'm more excited about this than Snoop Dogg, okay? I'm more excited about Kelly Clarkson than Snoop Dogg, to be quite honest. But,
way more excited about Elmo.
Very, very true. So Elmo, Cookie Monster, Abby Kadabi and Tango will be part of the coverage team. They will be on social and broadcast coverage.
Do you know who Tango is?
I do not know who Tango is.
Tango is Elmo's dog.
Oh, okay.
Can you imagine? Oh, can you imagine doing a croissant tour with Cookie Monster?
That would be nice. Because I really worry for him because they don't really do chocolate chip cookies in Paris, I think.
He has expanded since we were kids.
Oh, well, that's good.
He will experiment with a biscuit or I didn't learn. I didn't get that far. Biscuit, that's it.
Yes. So there are cookies. There's biscuits. So but I think chocolate chip cookies are kind of a distinctly American food. So that will be very exciting.
Welcome to TKFLASTAN.
It is the time of the show where we check in with our team Keep the Flame Alive. These are past guests and listeners of the show who make up our citizenship of our very own country, TKFLASTAN. How about some results?
Chuck Aoki and the U.S. wheelchair rugby team took 5th at the Canada Cup.
All right, Katie Moon, Pole Vault Classic. Okay, oh my gosh, this was so cool to see in person. I went to a press conference on Friday with Katie and Emily Grove, who is qualified for the Olympic trials, and also Gabriella Leone, who is also qualified for Olympic trials. And they were very nice. It's at Katie's high school where she went to. So we had we were in a big room with the high school backdrop and just had access and could talk to these ladies for quite some time. Then the day of the competition, I did not know what to expect or where we would be or anything, but it was basically, you have a credential. Here, we're going to let you under the flags and onto the competition area. So all they said was, oh, media, you got to stay one side of this line. You can't be by the top of the runway where the athletes are. You got to go sit over by the pit. So I sat I was 12 feet away from where they were jumping. That's why I got sunburned.
Yeah, there was no shade where you were.
No, I was with Elizabeth, our friend Elizabeth Emery from Hear Her Sports, and she was in under a tent for a good chunk of it. And she had a hat. She was smart enough to bring a hat, but I'm out there in the sun, loving life. Seeing pole vault in person is pretty amazing because you don't realize on TV how short the runway is and how fast they have to get up to speed, how long those bars are. Gabby Leone, when we were talking with her at the press conference, she said that when she drives, she will see when you're driving on the highway and you go under a bridge and they've got the height of the bridge, she will think, I can vault this.
Oh, I already love her.
Right? She was fantastic.
I could vault that bridge, no problem.
I know, right? Or if it would be I can't get that one yet. I'm working up to that height,
She would have a field day here in Connecticut driving down the Merritt.
Oh, totally. I should have asked. I should have remembered to ask her. I wonder if she would do better than the trucks on Storrow Drive in Boston.
Much.
But it was amazing to see canisters of poles strapped to the top of a car. I've posted pictures around on social. I'm probably going to have some more pictures too. But being so close to the action, you just saw how much work goes into it. And the event was about 3 hours long. We had 11 vaulters take part in it. And by the end, I was starting to get to understand what to look for and when somebody was going to run through or not make it. And that was really interesting. I just wanted more. And they said they had registered, because tickets were free, 2,800 people were there. And it was pretty deep. Everybody was on the football field. So the runway was parallel to the end zone, if you can picture that. So the whole runway did not cover the whole end zone either. That's how short it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
So if you're going across the end zone from not from end zone to end zone, but the other direction, that pole vault area is shorter than your end zone.
East-west versus north-south.
Yes.
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 Wow. That is not
It's
much.
very short. It's not very much. And they weren't even using the whole runway either. So that was pretty incredible. Behind me were some girls. There were a lot of like high school aged girls there. I know it about melted your heart with everybody there who was pole vaulting already and wanted to watch. So behind me were a couple of girls and one girl and her mom wearing Team USA and US Olympic gear. So of course I had to say something to them. They drove from Utah to be here. Yes. It was
That's amazing.
unbelievable. And then
Which
she
is
was sitting,
exactly why Katie wanted to do this.
exactly. And she's sitting next to a girl from Indiana who they just met sitting there and talking, and they just were like, "Oh, we love being able to analyze the jumps. It makes me feel invested too into their sport." So, shout out to Lacey and Hannah, and thank you for being my go-tos. Because if I had questions, I was sitting there, and if I had questions, I'd just scoot back and be like, "Okay, what's up with this?" They were very kind to me.
You're like one of Mom's friends.
Right? Yeah. This crazy old lady who's getting sunburnt. But it was really, really cool. Officiating job I would like to do. Oh, because oh my gosh, the officiating jobs just for this alone. We had a woman on the mic who was telling who was up, who was on deck, who was in the hole. There was a guy who was by the timer because they have so many minutes. They only get like a minute to jump. And unless they are jumping repeatedly or in a row, because sometimes they would be the only jumper to go and then they have like 3 minutes. And that person has a flag because once the timer goes down so far, they raise the flag to tell the jumper, you got to get this thing going. Then there is another guy who sat near where the jump happens with the red and the white flags to know if it was a legal jump, and then also has a cone because the cone, every time the bar falls off or a new height is added, he puts the cone in the runway so nobody goes. And then you have the two guys who are manning the bar and have to put the bar up with special pulls every time.
That is the job I want, which is ridiculous because I'm the shortest person in the room and could never get this job, even with their extendables. But when you posted the pictures, this is so silly. And I'm sure a lot of spectators who watch most of these events on TV have the same experience I do. You never think about, how does the pole get back up there? How is the height adjusted? You know,
Yeah.
we saw in Tokyo all the field service robots bringing the shot puts and the javelins back, and that was the first time I ever thought about that need.
Mhm.
And when you were posting the pictures of, oh yeah, these guys are moving the pole, of course there has to be a person who does that.
Right. I mean, because you would think that there would be a system with like a little elevator almost to take it up to to the right height, but maybe that's just because we were at a high school, so there were 4 or 5 different pins for the bar to sit on depending on what level the athletes were at.
So this sent me down a rabbit hole of trying to find videos. And when you're at Olympic World Championship, that is more automated. The
Mhm.
pole kind of expands. I mean, there's still somebody who's in charge of making sure it's all correct, but it is more elevator-like
Mhm.
and not so much by hand. But still, somebody's got to take the pole off the mat if it falls. And so there's all those things still have to happen manually, but the height adjustment is
Right.
more automated.
Well, and there's also maybe this would be the person for you because every time the bar had to move up a height, there was a woman there that had a measure. No, they did crank it up. They had to twist it up. But there is another woman who came in and was about where they placed the pole in the little hole where you had to place the pole, and she had some sort of measure sensor to make sure the bar was at the right height.
I was hoping you were going to say she had like a tape measure that she
Oh,
whipped out.
there was a tape measure on the ground, but but
Yeah,
then
in case any of the automation failed, you have to have the manual
Mhm.
backup.
And there's also an element that I probably should have asked, but there's an element of the bar will move forward and backward. So they had to keep like kind of moving it backward into play and into the right place. Yeah. It's very complicated. I would say that about this this element.
And now
And
multiply that event by how many field events there are, how many track events there are, how many different sports with events in there. And that's where you remember, why do we need an army of 20,000 volunteers?
Exactly. And of course, the best part was they did give me a score sheet because I asked if they had a rundown. They're like, "Oh, here, just have a score sheet." I'm like, "Oh, you know," I didn't even. I was very good about not geeking out about that, but I did keep score. I can't geek out in front of other officials. Come on.
Game recognizes game, Jill. Those officials took one look at you and said, I see that stopwatch in your pocket.
So that was fun because then it keeps you engaged with stuff. But I will say Marissa Kelsey, American vaulter, she made the Olympic standard because was like one of the last meets you could qualify on. Like I think Saturday was like the day, an end of qualification day. She made the height. It was so good and so much fun to see her just bouncing off the mat and cheering like crazy. So that was really cool. So many things. They all had their own hype music. So I don't have a whole lot of sound from the day because we can't have other songs in the background. But everybody had their own hype music and everyone was very different because Katie would have like that I'm good and I'm feeling all right. That the one where I want to sing Blue Bada Bee, the original song because I'm old. Uh and then there was somebody else who had, like, Red Hot Chili Peppers and AC/DC type stuff, and there was some Daft Punk.
You know whose dad picked out their hype music that they've been training to, as opposed to them picking it themselves.
Oh, I'm sure. No, actually, she looked like she would like some Red Hot Chili Peppers. So it was quite nice that everybody was there. Everybody was super excited. They'd be clapping and cheering for everybody. Canadian Olympian Annika Newell was there. Did not have a great day. And I was talking with her afterwards because she ended up tying for 6th and was pretty far back. And just she said, "Yeah, and I'm a coach too, so I'm analyzing everything." And it was interesting because they'd vault, they'd immediately get off the mat and go to their coach and watch the vault and analyze it and try to like, how do you analyze this and pick out one or two things to adjust? Because like, how much can you adjust vault to vault? Seeing Katie in person, and she recognized us, so thank you, Katie. I know, I was just like, "Oh my gosh, you know who we are." And the determination on her face in person and just how she dialed in for competing was so fascinating to see. And the speed that she can get, the speed that some of the others can get, and some of them with just like the high knees ability to run down the runway. It's just phenomenal about all the little things that you have to think about when you vault, except for you can't think about anything when you're vaulting, and all the little adjustments that you can make to do better. And it was just a really cool event. Don't know if it'll come back next year. I hope it does.
And most importantly, who won?
Katie Moon.
Thank goodness, because how bad would that have been?
I think it would have been rough. So the vault started at 4.18 meters, and then they'd go up from there. She did not start vaulting until 4.53 meters. She skipped 4.58 and then went to 4.63. She, in both of those, her first two heights, she missed a jump. She missed her first jump, got it on the second one. And she skipped 4.68, made 4.73 right away. And then that she was already the winner of the meet at that height. So then she decided to bump it up to 4.86 to get a season's best for her and a world lead. She unfortunately missed all 3 attempts.
But
So
congratulations to Katie on what sounds like just an amazing event.
yeah, there were a few tears because like they named the pole vault runway after her, and she got to spray her name in the AstroTurf there. So that was really cool. The crowd was cool. Her talk and like she talked to everybody afterwards and signed a lot of stuff. The girls who all look up to her, what a great way. And like she would have stayed there. I don't know how long she ended up staying there because she was starting to give advice, jumping advice. So I know, and you could see these girls be like, okay, how about that? What they're just kind of dialed into talking vault, and Katie was so there for that. She said that her injury's getting a lot better. She's still a little rusty, but she's doing better. She used to have to the other week she competed and she had to massage her calves a couple of times. Here she only felt like she had to do it once. So that is an improvement. She's just like it's getting better and better all the time. So look for a few more reels. Look for probably a few more pictures. And probably maybe some audio will show up too. It may show up for patrons. I'm not quite sure yet, but great day, great test event. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Almost at Falls High School, for putting it together, and it was a great time.
So, some more news from TKFLASTAN. Jacqueline Simoneau has officially been named to Team Canada's Paris 2024 artistic swimming team. And it was also announced that the Canadian Olympic Foundation's Great to Gold initiative would be offering up $80,000 in support for the artistic swimming team to split.
Kelly Chang and Sarah Hughes won the Volleyball World Beach Pro Tour Elite 16 in Ostrava, Czechia.
And congratulations to rugby coach Ben Ryan. He and BBC presenter Michelle Ackerley were married at the end of last month.
And that will do it for this episode. Let us know what you think of swimming at the Paralympics.
You can find us on X, YouTube, and Instagram at FlameAlivePod. Send us an email at flamealivepod@gmail.com. Call or text us at 208-352-6348. That's 208-FLAME-IT. Chat with us and other fans on our Facebook group, Keep the Flame Alive Podcast, and sign up for our weekly newsletter with even more Olympic and Paralympic info for you at our website, flamealivepod.com.
On Thursday, we are staying in the pool with interviews from the Team USA Media Day on swimming, diving, water polo, and artistic swimming. We are just ahead of the U.S. Olympic swimming trials, and I'm going to be there at least for a few days, so we're getting ready for that. Please do not forget to tell a friend about the show. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time, keep the flame alive.